Did you send it to Mark?
I did not send it to Mark yet, nor have I sent it to Danny, but I will. Welcome to Everyday Ethics, everyone, and thank you for being here with the lovely Persephone, who sometimes speaks when we're supposed to have a little bit of silence at the opening, but it's okay. We're going to discuss disappointment today, and I think it's a. I'm going to tell you why in just a second. Let me get out of here. Persephone, how was your weekend? Why don't we start there?
My weekend was great. I was tired and ill, and I went to jujitsu and got like nearly broke my foot. Also my wrist. Also my coccyx. So injured, tired, uh, ill.
You know,
Great.
we are up to 695 subscribers on this channel. Five more to 700. What do you
I know
what do you
anybody who's not subscribed, who's lurking,
subscribe?
subscribe.
You calling them lurkers?
Yeah, that's what they do. They lurk.
I don't know if I'd
That's
call
the
them lurkers. That doesn't seem like a nice thing to
well,
say
I
about
mean,
people.
that is the official terminology is a lurker.
Is that's official terminology?
That is official terminology.
Is that
It's
like
Amy and Olive. I recognize Amy and I think is it Amy and Olive from Self-Made Soul? If it
yeah,
is,
because
hello.
no, it is them because I told them they should come on here and watch the show. See, I'm trying to gather an audience. That's what I do. I reach out, I make friends. I'm very nice to people, and I try to get them on, to tune in. That's what I do. And I fixed my microphone issues. I had the Chat GPT helping me. It guided me through. I've now been made fun of in relation to my lack of knowledge about thirst tweeting in multiple venues, which is, all right. So anyway, let me. Disappointment can be a great reminder to experience gratitude for all the times in which one is not disappointed. Thank you, Robert. Um, Remember, we do allow super chats and super stickers, and we not only allow them, we love them. I mean, they're fantastic. Who doesn't want money? So I originally wasn't going to do the show today because I was supposed to be doing something else that I was really, really, really looking forward to. Very, very excited. And it fell through. And, so I was disappointed. And, but I'm here, so that's a good thing. And it just got me thinking about the nature of disappointment and the nature of goal setting and expectations because having great expectations feels good. It feels good to expect good things to happen. And when they don't, I think it's natural to feel disappointed. But some people would make an argument that, well, we should lower our expectations, but I don't think so. I think the proper thing to do is to put things in perspective. Like Robert says, that's one tool. Experience gratitude for everything that I do have rather than worrying about this thing that I didn't get. And also maintain high expectations, big goals, lofty ambitions, things to reach for. I think that's in my interest. Remember, the everyday ethics, I always have to say this because it's very important. The ethics that we're touting is that of egoism, rational egoism, acting in our own best interest. And it's simply not in my interest to have low expectations in life. It's in my interest to have high expectations, to work my ass off to achieve them, and to learn to psychological management for when things don't go my way. What say you, Persephone?
Um, I mean, I agree. I agree that it can feel crappy when you are disappointed, when you do have high expectations and they aren't met. But also if you've got no lofty goals, feel like you're just sort of floating through the world like mulch. Oh, I'm disappointed because I broke my pig.
Listen, okay, you just threw me way off with that now.
Sorry. I was squeezing my thing and it broke.
Thank God that never happened to me. Um,
Stop it.
well, what the hell? You brought it up. I didn't bring that up. So, FF Mormani says learning to manage disappointment is essential in the entertainment industry where we are constantly told no. Yes, that's true. And Olive, we're just going to call her Olive. Olive says, I think I literally learned to deal with disappointment today, so this fits perfectly right now. Well, that's wonderful. Katherine's laughing. Kathy's laughing. Everyone's having a great old time. That's good. That's what we want. Now I forgot where I was going. It reminds me of the old joke. I don't know if you ever heard about this one, but you know what a Rorschach test is, right?
Yeah.
So the psychiatrist has a patient, and he shows him, one of the pictures, the ink blot pictures, and the guy says, "Oh, well, that reminds me of a man and a woman having sex." And then the guy says, shows him another one. What's this? He says, "Oh, this is two people making out." Well, what's this one? Well, this clearly is another sexual situation that you've got showing me here. So the psychiatrist says to the guy, "Okay, I think we've identified your issue. The issue is you're obsessed with sex." And the guy says, "I'm obsessed with sex. You're the one showing all the dirty pictures." And that's kind of like you. So Robert Naser says, I'll say this: I'd rather be an optimist who's occasionally disappointed than a pessimist who's occasionally pleasantly surprised. The so-called middle position, realism, misses the point. Yeah, I'm with you, Robert. So what are some ways that we can deal with these disappointments? And I think that perhaps the biggest key for me is putting things in perspective. Right? Understanding perspective. Now, for me, my perspective is, 3.5 years ago, I was in a cage. Now I'm here. I'm free. I'm doing what I love to do. That's a big plus, right? I also have a lot of very good people in my life. Very, very good people. Friends, girlfriend, a lot of good things that are going right in my life. And, when I do get disappointed, it's great to bring those things back into consciousness, to focus on them, but also focus on the fact that I could still do other things. I could still achieve other things. As long as I'm drawing breath, I can do what I need to do in order to make my life a success. I won't ever have the cat's ears for headphones that Persephone has.
You could. I don't think they'd look as good on you, but you could.
Why not?
Should we do an audience poll?
I will tell you what. You want to talk thirst tweets? You fit me in a set of those things, and they'll be coming in 100 miles a minute. Yep.
Okay, so that's our new super chat goal. If we get $150 this week, we'll put Mike in cat ears. And
absolutely. Absolutely.
We'll post some pics on Patreon and on the YouTube community. $150. $150.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. $150 this week, and then we will put Mike in cat ears.
Are you going to keep track of this? Because I'm not good with it. Jim Valiant says, "But from dudes, Mike." And I didn't speculate. I mean, I didn't say they stipulate they had to be women, Jim. But it's interesting to know that you would find me attractive, Jim, in cat's ears for headphones. I mean, I don't blame him.
Me neither. But
what now? What were
sorry,
you
I was reading the comment from Robert, an episode on masculinity and femininity, because it's interesting.
Absolutely, we can bring in a Jungian perspective too on that. So I want to back up a little bit. Or go ahead. You had something to say. Go ahead.
So from when I was younger, so we're just talking about disappointment, there was something that my mother always used to say to me. She always used to say to me, "Everything will be all right in the end. And if it's not all right, then it's not the end." And like that's such a silly platitude. But
I don't like it.
No, I know. It's
you know
very
why I don't
silly.
like it? Because in the end, I'm dead.
Well, yeah, but
what do you mean? Yeah, but the end is the end of me.
Yeah, but at the end of your life, I guess. Yeah. Like not when you're actually dead.
Then it's not the end.
I'm just telling
this mother. This mother of yours is out there giving bad information. I'm just saying. Nothing against her. I've never met her, but this is bad. This is bad info.
No, it's one of those silly little it's one of those silly little platitudes that's always helped me. And I acknowledge that it's very silly, but my mother says some very silly things as well.
Danny's gonna buy me the cat ears. I guess Subby wants me to wear them for a week. You listen, $150 this week. I'll definitely wear the cat ears for a week. Olive says that she deals with disappointments by trying to understand the other's perspective, and I think this helped me forgive the person. It's always very wise to think in terms of the other person's context, what another person's going through, and there's this story that I've always heard, probably apocryphal, but it illustrates the point that there's a guy and he's on a train or it's a bus and he's sitting there and he's very quiet and somber and he's got his two young kids and the two young kids are making noise. They're running around. They're disturbing everybody. And, somebody on the bus gets very upset and tells the guy, hey, you want to get a hold of your kids and stop letting them do this? And the guy looks up and says, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't even notice, their mother just died and I'm having a hard time and they're having a hard time. And all of a sudden everybody understands, right? All of a sudden the fact that his two kids are acting up isn't such a big problem because everybody got the perspective of the other person. In psychology, they have something that everybody should look up called the fundamental attribution error. Matter of fact, Persephone, why don't you look it up and post it? I like giving you jobs to do because you don't have enough. But anyways, so the fundamental attribution error is essentially that when we view things from our own perspective, we ascribe our behavior to outward things. It's outward pressure. It's pressure from other people, pressure from situations. It has nothing to do with our character. It has something to do with the environment in which we are dealing, with which we are dealing. But when we view other people, we don't give them the same benefit of the doubt. Instead, we attribute it to their character, to their intrinsic personality. This is why they're acting that way. Now, I do think that character determines a person's behavior, but in context. So we always have to keep in mind context. When we're disappointed, when we're let down, keep the context. In that way, we will have a better perspective. So great point, Olive. What else do we got here? Danny is already trying to switch things up now. He says, do they need to be a cat or other animal-shaped ears on the table? I feel like that's the old switcheroo.
No, they're gonna be cat ears. I think cat ears
They
is
have
the
to
way
be
to go.
cat ears. Yeah, they have to be cat ears. Olive and Amy. See, this is why I went out and got them to come into the chat. You see what's happening? They're lively. They're participating.
Thank you, Olive and Amy.
And No Name wants me to
Great.
wear raccoon ears. I don't know about that, but I was listening yesterday to the song "The Gambler." Everybody familiar with this song by Kenny Rogers? No? Am I too old? All right, Jim Valiant. I know you've heard it. Jim went to school with Kenny Rogers back in the 40s. Anyway, so the song "The Gambler," he's on a train and he runs into this gambler, and the gambler sees that he's very upset. So the gambler tells him that every gambler knows the secret to survival is knowing what to throw away and knowing what to keep. And I think that the looking at things from another person's perspective is wise, but sometimes people are just not good for you. Sometimes the actions that you're engaging in are just not good for you. Sometimes the things you're pursuing just aren't good for you. And the thing to do in those situations is to cut your losses and move on. If people that are in your life are not encouraging you to be better, if people in your life are not trying to help you to get better, to do better, to get better things in your life, if they don't have your best interest in mind, get rid of them. No, I don't mean in the kill them sense. You don't want to kill people, but you do want to cut people out of your life. If you're engaging in a behavior that's harming you, stop doing it. You need to be able to know what to hold on to and what to throw away. And also the gambler says, and you need to know when to walk away and know when to run. Meaning, the speed with which you do these things is contingent on the threat that these people actually have to you. What are you typing, Persephone?
No.
So what am I listening to?
I'm just making noise.
I think you're like getting Doritos. It sounds like you're getting a bag of Doritos.
It's a wet wipe.
All right, things just got a little weird. But what do you think, Persephone?
Yes, I think it's important to know when to walk away from like situations or people that are bringing you down. The other thing that I was thinking is disappointment is not always caused by another person. So, I mean, yes, looking at things and going, understanding the context of another person's life, that can be important. But so this is a situation from my life. So we had a client, and they were a decent client, and they were bringing in like a fair amount of money. And one day, for reasons that were never explained to us, they fired us, right? No
Mm.
explanation. There was like nothing was had gone wrong. There was no anything. And we were really disappointed in that. Obviously, like losing a client so suddenly, there was no context to that that made it better or made it more understandable. Um, that was just something that we had to deal with.
What are you doing?
With? With
What
what?
you're looking off into the distance. You're in the middle of a story.
I was looking at you.
Oh, okay. Um, I was thinking the same thing in relation to disappointment because, I could be disappointed that I didn't get a job. I can be disappointed that I was unable to meet my bench press goals. I don't have any, but if I did, I could be disappointed by that. So there are other things, but I think the principle that we're looking at is the same, is to ultimately to put everything in perspective,
Mm.
to focus on perspective. Robert Nasser says we need to cultivate psychological objectivity, the ability to see relationships, but personally, not personally, but also from a third party perspective, super valuable, which also means fully self interested. Yes, 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 yes. Big time typos today from Robert Nasser. Do you know that somebody on Twitter, somebody referred to me as a snack?
I do.
Yeah,
You are a snack.
a snack.
Yes.
All right. I don't know how that fits with disappointment because
It it doesn't, but you're the one who brought it up.
I did. I brought it up because it has to do with this whole. Okay, I was disappointed to find out that I was mistaken about what these thirst tweets were. I'm a main course from Jim Valiant. Okay, I could
I,
see that.
I'm so confused. Why were you disappointed to learn what a thirst tweet is?
I was wrong. I don't like.
You were disappointed in being wrong. Okay.
Yeah. I wasn't really. I was trying to make something work. It obviously didn't come through. Sometimes these things don't happen the way we want them to. And it's like one time this guy asked me, he was doing an interview with me, and he says, people are going to hear us and they're going to think we're crazy. And I improvised, and I said, they thought Tom Jefferson was crazy. And he said, they did? Really? Who? And I said, I don't know. I just made it up. I didn't expect to be questioned on the whole thing. Right? I'm hoping, do we have any 5-star dinner? All right.
I'm gonna stick with snack. Um, Roberts did say something interesting earlier. He said, interestingly enough, I also see the opposite. Some people blame everything on themselves. I should have done or known better, while explaining or excusing everything that other people do. That's also
That
something that I see a lot.
I have too. I don't know that there's an actual error in psychology that they've identified, but I have seen that. I think that there's a tendency sometimes for people to, not appreciate their own context. I should have known better. I should have done better. I could have saved this person when it's just not possible. You couldn't know in that time. You can't look at things with what you know now and say, "Oh my God, I should have known this then." You know,
Mm,
unless you deliberately ignored something that you could have known then, it's just not sort of a realistic perspective to take. It reminds me, and I don't know how much this has to do with disappointment. I guess it would be disappointment in oneself, where somebody will have an argument with someone and then the person dies. And then the guy or the lady feels guilty. Oh my God, the last time I talked to him, it was an argument. That's life. In life, we argue with people we care about. It's just not realistic to think that we're going to go through our entire lives with friends and family and we're not going to disagree. We're not going to get angry at each other. It's part of life. And we can't control when somebody dies. So if somebody dies after an argument, I'm not going to kill myself over it. I'm not going to beat myself up. It's a part of life. That was part of my relationship with the person.
yeah.
What do
I
you
mean,
mean? What do you mean? That didn't sound like you agreed. You were very
no,
dismissive.
I do agree. I do agree, but I also I also think that if because you know that how do I phrase what I'm thinking?
How
Yes,
do I know?
I just read my mind. So you're talking about like the last thing I ever said to this person. We had an argument, and it just made me think. You know, the people in your life are going to die sometimes, like randomly, and
Sure.
I always think it's really important if you do like have a fight with someone or whatever, and you do want to make up with them, to not like delay or put it off just because you are being petty. And to tell your friends and your family that you love them.
Yes, I agree with all that. I think that in the when talking about things that you can't really blame yourself for or shouldn't blame
Yeah,
yourself for, it's that's the type of thing that you should not be beating yourself up for. I've had arguments with all the people that I care about. I still care about them, right? They're still in my life. But when when I've had an argument with them, if something were to happen to me after having an argument with somebody I love, and I certainly wouldn't want this person to be beating themselves up about it,
yeah,
right? To be hating themselves or thinking, "Oh, I could have done better." It's part of it. It's part of life.
yeah.
Subby says some people are just assholes. This is true. I know a lot of them.
Same. I disagree with you, but I love you. That's also a good thing to say. Um, coming back to disappointment and expectations, also think that the people who try to protect themselves from disappointment by setting their expectations really low, um, I think that they just also tend to be a lot more negative in general. It sort of comes back to what we were talking about on Friday with the mental hygiene. Um, the people who say like, well, I don't want to be disappointed, so I'm never going to expect anything from everyone, or I'm always going to expect the worst, because if I expect the worst, then I'll never be disappointed. Yeah, you'll never be disappointed, but what a miserable way to live.
Yeah,
To
dull,
just
dull.
yeah, to just always be expecting the worst, because you're sort of like you're living in this constant state of expecting the worst from every situation and from everyone around you. And when something good does happen, you're not pleasantly surprised. Like they say, well, I'll be pleasantly surprised, but you're not. You're suspicious. You're
Yes,
suspicious and you're wondering like, when is the other shoe going to drop? Whereas if you do go through life and you have high expectations, yeah, sometimes you are going to be disappointed and you're miserable, but then you've got other expectations and you've got other goals that can carry you through. Like, if something disappointing happens in my life, I'm not like, oh, well, my life is over, because I've got a million other things that, I've got to look forward to. Whereas if you have no expectations and you just sort of live this like flat, boring life to protect yourself from disappointment, when something does disappoint you, inevitably, you've got nothing to look forward to because you're like, well, life is disappointing. I shouldn't expect anything.
Persephone, you need to make that a clip. That was absolute fire. That was great. What you just said is superb. I watched this episode last night of The Twilight Zone, and this guy, he was a hypochondriac, and the devil came and made a deal with him. He was going to give him immortality, But there was an escape clause. If the guy ever wanted, he would live forever, but if he ever got sick of it, he could opt out. But then the devil has his soul. So what ended up happening was everything was now dull to the guy because there was no risk involved in life. There were nothing, like we're talking about here. He couldn't be disappointed. He couldn't be overly excited about gaining anything because there's really no challenge. Nothing can hurt him. And his life was just so boring that he ended up cashing out. And that's what he ended the deal with the devil. And that's what it sort of reminds me of. It's just living a life of just, oh, I don't expect anything. I don't want anything. Yes, the disappointments suck, but when you get your goals, when you meet good people, when good things happen, it's wonderful, especially if you're not saying to yourself, oh, yes, but it won't last. So Olive but Tasty says, okay, but how do I deal with always expecting too much and always getting disappointed? Well, with that, Olive, I don't know the context of what you're referring to. But if you are dealing, you mentioned before people. So if you are constantly putting your trust in people and those people are letting you down over and over again, then you go back to what we talked about when I was talking about the song The Gambler. You have to cut those people out of your life. You don't need people in your life that are constantly going to be hurting you, constantly letting you down. You want people that are going to lift you up and that are going to help you become the person that you want to be and live the life that you want to live.
Yes. But if you do want to add more context to that and the space is too short, you can actually go to the Capitalist Corner website. There is a form. You can type however much you want, and then we'll
And they
look
can
at
do it
the
anonymously, right? They don't have to.
yeah, yeah.
You
You
know,
don't
I
have to put you don't have to put your name in.
you know what I just realized? Nobody evidently wants to see me in the cat ears. Nobody cared. You gave the challenge. No one gave a shit. I would have thought that would be something for people to donate to.
You know,
But
I would think so as well, but they've got the whole week.
they do have the whole week.
They
That's true.
do
You
have
got
the
a
whole
good point.
week.
So Stars for Amy says there will always be disappointments in life, but most of the things will go right. That's my view on it. And you should be happily waiting for the good things instead of beating yourself up over stuff. In general, I agree with that. I mean, unless
Yeah.
most things do go right. If you think, I go for a walk, I do this, I do, I make something to eat, I pet the dog, everything goes right. Robert's back with the only man never to be redeemed is the man without passion. We've got 10 euros now from Katrin.
Thank you, Catherine.
Yes, Katrin. She says, I do. I'm guessing that she's not accepting a marriage proposal from somebody we don't know about. My guess is that she wants to see me in the cat ears, right?
Yeah. Yeah. All these challenges that Mike puts out there, he really wants to do them. He's just looking for an excuse. Someone he can blame it on. Is that true?
I don't need. Listen, I don't need to blame anything on anybody for doing stupid things. Let me just tell you, it was my friend's birthday today, so I took a damn near naked selfie and sent it to him, and I said, "Happy birthday!" And then he told me, "You better hope I don't put this on Facebook." On Facebook.
I mean, he should put it on Facebook.
Whatever. If he put it there, he puts it there. What do I care?
$50 and I'll contact Mike's friend to get that selfie and put it on Facebook.
Carlos Rabolo, Freedom Braids.
Oh, yeah. I'll message Carlos today and get that selfie.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with it. I listen.
Yeah,
Can I tell you something about? I used to, not that I don't anymore at all, but I used to suffer from extreme anxiety, social anxiety, and panic attacks. And one of the things that they recommend that you do to overcome it is be willing to make a fool out of yourself in public, because you learn that the opinions of other people really don't matter.
this is so very, very true. And for anybody who is socially anxious, just go out there and make a fucking fool of yourself. I promise you, you'll get over it real quick. My friend, a good friend of mine, we were in the mall one day and I was doing something embarrassing. I was probably dancing or singing or like one of the things that I do. And she looked at me and she just very loudly said, "You're such a fucking embarrassment." But like in a friendly way, not in a rude way. She was like, "You're such a fucking embarrassment." And I was like, "I know. Isn't it fun?" So now
It is fun.
every birthday she just says, "Happy birthday, you giant fucking embarrassment." And I'm like, I bring joy to your life.
That is awesome. Awesome. All right. Robert Nacer. Olive says, if you put on the mindset, I don't care what other people think, life gets easier. Yes.
True.
Robert Nacer says, be who you are and say what you feel because those who mind
Mind
don't matter and those who matter don't mind. Dr.
fact.
Seuss, fact. All right, everyone, we are out of time, but we will see you tomorrow, same time, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 11:30 a.m. Pacific Time. Also, tune into the Capitalist Corner for the great political insights that we bring. That's on at noon Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. We're always having fun. We're always educating. We're always learning. See everybody tomorrow. Until then, well, Persephone, say goodbye first.
Goodbye, everybody. Don't forget that the Capitalist Corner and Everyday Ethics are now also available on Spotify. And don't forget to check out the Everyday Ethics Patreon. And goodbye.
Yes. And until then, be
Be
ethical.
ethical.